It's Bears week. This is Block Party. I'm your host, Mike Wahle. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying, please subscribe, rate, and review on our Process to Perform channel on YouTube. You can hit me up at Mike Wahle68 or Process to Perform that's on X, Twitter. Process to Perform on Instagram. Check us out on the Andy Herman's Pack a Day podcast as well. The Packers are heading in at 6.5-point favorites. I couldn't believe that spread when I saw it. I guess I get it. I mean, the Bears have they're first in the NFC North for the first time. This is like the first time in a long time this is a meaningful game. Really, really interesting offense. Hats off to Ben Johnson and the staff for kind of turning the team around as fast as they have. And we kind of talked about it on some other shows. Like, they had all the pieces in place. They brought in a great offensive mind. Obviously, a person who has figured out, maybe under Dan Campbell, all the different stops he's had, how to do it and how not to do it. Brought in some great assistance. His staff is fantastic. I think the biggest thing here is they fixed, and maybe in reverse order, but they fixed their offensive line. And when we talk about the Bears, you're going to talk about their offense. We can talk about their turnover differential, which is tops in the league. But their offense, led by Caleb Williams, is kind of it is just a masterclass in how to set people up for success. And they're not quite executing at the level that I'm sure the expectation is there. But you can just tell. I think they're 8th in the league. See, I got it here. They're 8th in the league for 26 points a game, 374 yards total. They're 44% on third down conversions, good for 6th in the league. Part of that is the escapability and kind of the movement and the off-schedule plays that Caleb Williams can make. But really, when you watch this offense, for me, it's really, really impressive just to see how they think about attacking the defense. Obviously, a lot of it comes down to execution. And, quite frankly, they've had skill players there for a number of years. They're really, really talented. Odunze getting drafted, I think, last season with Caleb Williams. They have DJ Moore. They brought him over from Carolina. They drafted a kid, what's his name? Monagal in the 7th round. He's been a find to complement DeAndre Swift. But they drafted Darnell Wright, which is a huge draft pick for them, right tackle. I think it was out of Tennessee a couple of years ago. But then they brought in Joe Thuney, All-Pro, might be a Hall of Fame player, quite frankly. He's had so much success at the the kind of the top level of the Kansas City Chiefs, and obviously the New England Patriots. They brought in Drew Dahlman, huge upgrade at the center position, and they brought in Jonah Jackson, who's been a good player, and he was, I think, most recently with the LA Rams before this. But they shored up that line. They have the skill position guys. Everything's in place. Are they as detailed as they need to be? No. Does Caleb Williams make a lot of does he still make a lot of mistakes? Does he not hit some open guys? Absolutely. What I love is they run a ton of under center. They do a lot of those like Peyton Manning-like ton of long handoff plays. They made a living on the jet sweep stuff last week. I don't think I show any of it on the tape you're about to watch, but they made a living on the jet sweep plays. That contributed to over 300 yards rushing. This is a fun offense to watch. But then you turn on the tape with the defense, and you hear all about these turnovers, and they've won a lot of close games, or the comeback kids and all this stuff. They're giving up almost 26 points a game. They give up almost 360 yards a game, and they give up 5.2 yards per rush. So they're not very good at doing a lot of the basic stuff on defense, but they're number one in turnover ratio. And it has made one hell of a difference for this team. So they've got belief. They've got the talent. They're playing really, really well. And I think this is going to be a good game. Check this tape out. We give you a preview of the offense first, then the defense. We'll get back here with a little wrap-up. Okay, when you start talking about the Chicago Bears offense, obviously everyone's going to talk about, Caleb Williams, and they rightfully should. He makes some plays. But the fact is, and I think Ben Johnson alluded to it earlier in the week, like, he misses a ton of open throws, and their receivers are not always kind of in the correct spots. And once they get to that, like, they're going to be a real problem because they have a vastly improved offensive line. Their scheme and the creativity and just the thought process that goes into how they attack a defense is very, very high level. And their quarterback is extremely, extremely talented. So this is a fun offense to watch. I think probably a terrible one to have to game plan for. And it's just these little wrinkles. And like, as you see this, and I'll just kind of show it from here. So you see Cole Kmet lined up in his racehorse stance, which says, hey, they're telegraphing, hey, and they're really telling this guy who's coming down to play man. And he is the only person on the screen that, that could be covering him. Hey, I'm going to stay in for the pass, okay? So just chill out. And then they just end up running this little tight end screen. Tackle steps away. Back goes to the flat, clear it out. And they just spend a lot of time kind of in this little channel. And the thing that I like about these plays, I think that makes it really tough, is you don't know as a safety, you got this go route up top here. And obviously this guy has to stay on top if they're playing quarters over here, if they're playing single safety, whatever. But that safety coming down the hole, like you really you're gonna hesitate for a minute, and that space is really all they need. To get this ball out. There's nobody there. Back's turned. The linebackers have gone to the flat. Everybody's 10 yards away, and it's a free 10 yards. And this is just when you watch this team, what you really notice is they do a pretty good job of keeping everything manageable by the time they get to third down. Which I know, the new thing is everyone's saying like we don't want to get to third down. Well, yeah, no shit, nobody wants to get to third down. But Ben does a really good job from a schematic standpoint of trying to stay away from third and long. Just by having these really positive runs. I know that's the goal of everybody. I'm kind of being redundant, but I think they do a really good job of it. Here's another one of those just kind of an easy throw and catch for these guys, right? They walk off the line here at the top. They've got two great receivers. He just kind of walks off the line and bounces out quick. They've got all this action in the backfield. They've got their two tight end look in. The Eagles are going to stay with 7 in the box. They like to run that 3-4, that 5-2, however you guys want to look at it. And play that shell behind and, They're running a flood concept. This is relatively, from a level standpoint, this is a relatively easy way to think about football, right? Let's just get to short and, second and short, third and short. If we get the first down, fantastic. So these guys motion DJ Moore, one of their top receivers, into the backfield. They bring, I think that's Cooper DeJean, they bring their safety back into their nickel. They still got their 2 deep look. And now they're just going to run this real simple handoff. But look what it does to the backside. And specifically, they say, okay, well, we're going to rock and roll the safeties. And this is the hard thing. I think when you come down play side as a safety, you don't know, you're playing tendencies, but if you come down play side, I think it's a lot easier than coming down to the backside. And what you're going to see here is this guy just for a second with this release, he just gets a little bit washed up here. Everybody gets pushed over, and then there's just massive, massive hole on the backside. And it's good execution. It's great scheme. But you see the linebackers, their linebackers are as soon as 85 comes across here, and they've got the lead, the San Francisco lead. They've got the wham. They could turn him back around, but they've got everybody on this side of the center now. And they've got 1, 2 defenders, really, maybe a third one coming down the box. So they got 5 and 3. It's not balanced anymore. And that's all you're trying to get in the run game. Again, you can watch 50 Phillips coming off the edge here. He's not even thinking. He's got eyes on the mesh. He's not even thinking about DJ Moore. Talking about 50 on the backside here. He's not closing. He's reading that mesh. But he's not thinking about getting whammed. But it's just all the action. Once DJ comes in the backfield here, you're thinking, all right, this got to be a keeper. This has to be a keeper. So they don't need the mesh because they don't need to split flow with a wide receiver because this motion alone makes him think like, shoot, man, this could be a quarterback keeper, and he's got to stay wide. And so how easy is that block or just getting in the way of one of their better players in Jalen Phillips? We got a first down under center. They do a ton of under center looks. Trips right here, tight end attached. And I showed this play because they get into a jam. And it's just a vastly improved offensive line. And what I wanted to focus on here, because nobody dominates their block here, but just watch footwork, right guard, center, left guard, hand placement, etc. Let's start with a center, maybe with a difficult block on his own. Square, stay square, stay square, stay. Yeah, just stay square. 1-2, stay square. Doesn't have to bury it. Doesn't have to get a holding call. Just stay square on arguably the best D tackle in the league right now. You look at the backside, that massive kid from Tennessee. I think it's Darnell Wright. Right guard. Stay square, stay square. It's really that easy, or that simple, not easy. But they got they have 2 good running backs, and they got offensive line that just does their job. Here's their little wham play. They bring Komet across, and that wants them to bring this safety down, and he immediately just wham blocks here. Easy release to the backside backer. And again, you're just thinking from a numbers standpoint. You've got all these guys in the box here. He's really out of the play. We're going to wham block here. And it's really like you got one block back here that is, what you'd call, I guess, a significant block. It's that backside guard who's probably your best lineman on their linebacker. And everybody else on this play is just going to get washed. It's a good scheme. They don't even really, Komet doesn't even get the block on 97 here, right? But fast running back. Sheesh. I've showed this play, and I'll start it from the watch 14. So this is a rollout keeper. 14 is going to go all the way over here, and then all the way over here, and they don't connect this ball, but they're running plays where they're like, Caleb, go ahead and run out past the hash, past the numbers, and throw it across your body into the back of the end zone. Feel really good about it. And he's not connecting on some of these plays, but this is, he's wide ass open. Look what he does to this corner on the top here. I'm sorry, that's the safety. But he's got the safety turned the wrong direction. Caleb Williams is running this way, and the safety's running that way just because of what they're showing. Cut back inside, and you got your flood, and they're really just trying to set up this backside throw. Cool play. Tough to defend. Real eye discipline required. Another 1st and 10, starting in trips. They love the under center stuff. Super effective. Now DJ Moore is going to come. This is very similar to the play we talked about before. They go motion across, and then this player is going to just kind of randomly run over here on a handoff, and watch what it does to the defense. You get all that look that you wanted. Again, everybody play side. They got the tight end going out to the flat, making the backside defensive end think that it's a keeper. They got DJ Moore going over here, bringing 27 out of the play. Linebackers are washed over, and there's just no one home. They had more explosive runs in this game than the Packers have had all season. This is a wildly creative play. Look what this does to the backers, man. Jesus. This is a who's on first play if I've ever seen one. And Darnell Wright does a good job here capturing 97. Gets him enough. Swift's so fast. They hit the hole so hard. It's a really good scheme. Okay, well, this is a 3rd and 5 look. They chip out. And this is kind of what they're talking about, I think, from an execution standpoint of just, this just doesn't look great, I think, from a spacing. Now, and you'll see so many throws if you watch tape of Caleb Williams fitting into really tight holes. The guy's got an absolute cannon and can do it. But he gets in a little bit of trouble here. I don't know if I have the end zone copy. He's just elusive as hell. And we talked about it on Andy Herman's podcast. His ability to escape pressure on those off-schedule plays are kind of what scares you the most about this team. This is what you have to play for and expect and kind of speak and practice into existence, I think, with this team, is just getting these kind of turnovers on kind of stupid ass. They got a great screen set up here. Got everything they want. And, they don't their turnover ratio is number 1 in the league, but that's really because of what their defense has been able to do. But he will give up the ball. 1st and 10. 2x2, under center. Now, they made a killing on jet sweeps in this game as well, or jet sweep-like plays. And so all those motions that we're watching, they really had the Eagles' defense thinking. And there was such a good mix of, the under center handoffs, the jet sweeps, the kind of the quick toss across from the shotgun. But it really messes with these linebackers and the safeties and their rules. You can just see the conflict here. So 32's down. He's running out. The corner's filling in. And all this is happening at the second level. So, 53 is not where he wants to be. Ends up getting leveraged. Easy block for the tight end on a corner. Again, using that speed. Another explosive run. Got this 3rd and 4 look. Little orbit. And everybody's open here. This is really railroad. So railroad concept is the crossers with a back run and a wheel out here. So you're going to get your crosser. Well, that's bad drawing. Get your crosser. Somebody's going to hook up in the middle. Bring him out to the flat. Everyone's got this play, just the way you'd want to dress it up. And then they're wide ass open. One thing they do here on the back side, he's pointing switch, but this guy's going to hear plant and come back out. So the safety doesn't feel like he can drive on it. Right? Something new. Second, they play 13 personnel under center. And this is what makes you question everything. Rolling out. Probably has the first down to Swift. Just sees. Come out with the leak. He's the second tight end in. You just look at the backside. You got 3 tight ends. They're all releasing inside. Second one goes. Find commit.
Hey, friends, it's time to get our sleeper picks in for this huge game between Green Bay and Chicago. I don't know about you guys, but I am having a ton of fun with Sleeper this year. If you haven't tried it yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. This week, in this huge matchup, I'm going relatively simple. And this is the beautiful thing. You can mix and match as many of these as you want. I'm going with as little as 2 in this game. You could go, way more than that and mix it up. And there's a lot of different ways that you can get your sleeper picks on. But this week, I'm going Jordan Love, more than 212.5 passing yards. I know that Chicago's defense, especially in their defensive backfield, they've got some talented players. They give up yards. It's turnovers how they win. And I expect Green Bay to be able to throw the ball in this game. So more than 212.5 passing yards for Jordan Love. On the flip side, I know that Roma Dunze's become more involved as their tight ends. Of course, Luther Burden as well. But DJ Moore has been a bit of a pain for Green Bay in the past. 26.5 is not a ton of receiving yards. I'm going more than 26.5 receiving yards for DJ Moore. Here's the best part. If you haven't tried this yet, now is the perfect time. You can get a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. Yes, 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. So what are you waiting for? Get your sleeper picks in today. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper for details. They're available in over 25 states nationwide. So get those sleeper picks in right now.
All right, this Bears defense, on paper they don't have great numbers except for they have just a ton of turnovers. They're not dominant by any stretch of the imagination. I think they were missing 3 linebackers as you watch this game, but they have a nose for the football. They play hard, and they just have this belief right now that they can get things done. So this is just they're starting in 2 shell. They walk it down on really on the play side here, you see the 97, their D tackle just gets mollywopped off the ball here. Into the linebacker's lap. You know, these runs are available, I think, all day with this team. You know, Grady Jarrett's has been a really good player in this league, and he can make plays. And, you know, Sweat's, had a good player. He had a huge impact, obviously, when he showed up. Not on the screen right now. But I think they're good in the secondary. I think they're not as good up front. I think you want to establish the run, or you need to have that running game where those safeties have to declare early and give yourself some options. You know, again, I think the movement in the backfield, the one thing that you've watched this team, and I think they really do a good job of kind of recognizing route patterns. And so here they're going to kind of fake the crack, and they're going to run in and back out. They're just going to flood this side. And with the keeper, the run option, keep that rush down. You see, this is, Jalen Johnson gets beat because he thinks we're going for crack. So now, so these plays are available, but just, playing them straight up. With the Eagles, sometimes, you see a lot of kind of static offensive series where they're not moving a lot of guys around. And I think, luckily, Matt LaFleur is not going to do that a lot. If you do that with this team, Jalen Johnson, there's 3 plays in a row. I think I have him on tape here that he reads the damn route. He's running the route for the receiver every play. Look at down here. There's plays to be made. They're running quarters up top, trying to figure this out. Linebackers up at the line of scrimmage. And I don't know if it's because they're backups or what. Usually maybe you're spying here, I doubt it. But if you're going to bring all these guys, and to be this far off and to feel like you can still run, some sort of dagger concept there is kind of wild with everybody up. But they do. It felt like the Eagles lost this game on offense more than the Bears won it. Obviously, the winning team has to make plays as well. And I think they certainly did that at the end of the game. But, you watch some of these things, and, this is the same idea that Dallas Goedert's here running on Jalen Johnson. Jalen's running the route for him. There's one. I think these are 3 consecutive plays I'll show you here. 2nd and 6, down at the bottom now. And he just absolutely mauls this guy at the line of scrimmage. Game over. You can see the frustration. So A.J. Brown is cutting this at 12. No, excuse me. Yeah, cutting this at about 12 and comes all the way back here trying to find some space. Got to clear out, but this is a problem. Johnson just shuts down that option. Kind of thrown into some traffic there. And this on A.J. Brown outside here ends up getting a PI call down at the bottom of the screen. So A.J. is just going to run. He's going to run it out and catch the ball, but at the top he's going to push off. But watch Johnson again. This is kind of what I said yesterday is, he's running this route. He really just running that route. AJ is a big, strong guy, and AJ he's a ton of yards in this game because he wins, jump balls and this and that. But I think they do some stuff really well. Got to find the open guy. Just another crossers concept here. You're thinking AJ is probably feeling pretty good about his chances right here if he gets the ball. Bringing an extra man. You always want to throw where he came from. That's usually how you think about it. So you'd think he'd just give the ball to. The Eagles are struggling on offense. So part of this is you're looking at it and you go, yeah, but you still Super Bowl champs, man. Got to make some plays here. And this is where I think you got a chance. You run out and up with A.J. Brown, and you just think about if you're going to get these guys to get into some single safety looks, and you feel good about your outs. Again, I'll show you Jalen Johnson on the bottom. And I know he was on a pitch count last week. I don't know that he'll be in a pitch count this week. But he looks pretty damn good. You're going to have to win on the other side. And we don't necessarily have an A.J. Brown, but you do feel really good about our receivers. I think on the outside, winning that. Christian Watson's certainly proven he can do it. 1st and 10, 12 personnel. Got this little wing on the right. I love what the Eagles do here. So you have this apex player out, and is he, isn't he? And this is what happens with offensive lines when you think about run game. Oftentimes is if you don't count him, right, he ends up being a problem. So what they end up doing is they just say, we're pointing and we're going to go out here. This is going to be the tough block. We're going to motion across, and that's going to settle these backers. And then we're going to come down, and he's going to bounce this back out. But this is what sometimes with the Packers, where you want to see them make the adjustment. And Mike, the nickel guy goes inside. I mean, he's completely wrong. But that's part of this, right? You bring that motion over, make him be wrong. But account for that guy with the count and how you want to attack this defense. All right, we got a 1st and 10. Again, kind of a static look for the Eagles. They bring the house. And this is just not a big deal, but this is where Nick Saban always said about his guys, he's like, if I have these all-American wide receivers, like I'm not just going to hook them up and stop. If I see that, like I want to catch them and let them go on the run, because when they're stopped, they're as slow as you or me. And this is something that, you're doing this quick side adjustment because they're bringing the slot. So it's like, you're right. But man, imagine if he just had a little bit of a glance or something where this guy just didn't have a straight shot on a static player. And I think these are opportunities for plays with a team that wants to bring pressure, especially when you bring pressure off the edge. It's going to take a little time to get there. And what I mean by that is like, if he walks up here and they walk down and they go bang, bang, and it's real fast, that's one thing. But if he's coming, upfield and then in through, it takes a minute, man. So you have time to throw. Now, you might get hit if you're the quarterback, but you do have time. So it's like bang, bang. Let's get this. Let's make this guy not get to run a straight downhill line and try to hit a static player. So as you can see, I think there's areas to attack. I think bringing Jalen Johnson back full-time is going to be, it's one of those things that I think they're going to feel really good about. I thought he looked excellent against the Eagles. Different offense. You can see that the Eagles were struggling. I would argue that the Eagles lost that game on offense as much as the Bears won it. But, having said all that, you got to win. It's hard to get to where they're at as far as division leaders coming off the league of bad seasons they've had for the last couple of years. So this is going to be a really good game. I think you're going to go in and see a tough battle. I expect the Green Bay Packers to be able to run the football. It really turns into, can we make smart throws? Can we, all of those jump balls that we throw 1 or 2 times a game? Like you just don't like those balls against this defense and the way that they take away the football. I can't wait to see what we do and how we address Caleb Williams out of the pocket. I can't wait to see what we do to address their third down production. But, having said all that, you got to feel good about the Packers going into this game at home, 6.5-point favorites, feeling more and more healthy, having solidified our offensive line. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's a wrap on this week's show. Thanks again. All the Packers Nation, send in questions, send in your comments. Like, I really appreciate it. I love getting the content here and kind of interacting on that front. If you're enjoying the breakdowns, please hit the subscribe button, give it a 5-star rating, send it to an NFL friend, might enjoy it as well. I'm Mike Wahle. I want to entertain. I want to educate. Enjoy the weekend, guys. Enjoy the game.